The winter wind cut through my thin jacket as I hurried down Main Street toward the warmth of Murphy's bakery. My fingers were numb, and I was already thinking about the hot coffee I'd order when I saw him. A small boy stood just outside the bakery entrance. He couldn't have been older than 8, skinny, with tousled brown hair that needed washing and a coat too thin for December in Illinois. Most jarring were his bare feet, red and raw against the icy sidewalk. He clutched a cardboard box filled with candy bars, shifting his weight from one foot to the other to escape the cold concrete. "Candy bars, sir? Only $2, he said when he caught me staring. His voice was practiced, rehearsed to sound upbeat, but his eyes darted nervously toward a beat-up sedan parked across the street. I glanced at the car. Through the driver's window, I could make out a man watching us, cigarette smoke curling around his face. "Where are your shoes, buddy?" I asked, crouching down to his level. "It's freezing out here." He looked down. "Lost 'em. What's your name?" "Tyler," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Mark," I said. "How about we go inside where it's warm? I'll buy a candy bar there." Tyler's eyes widened with fear. He glanced toward the car again. "I can't. I gotta sell these first. For my uncle." The way he said "uncle" sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with the December air. "Where's your mom, Tyler?" I asked gently. His face changed then, a flicker of something, raw and wounded. "She gave me to him. Said I cost too much." My stomach twisted. I'd seen a lot as a social worker, but something about the matter-of-fact way he said it, like he'd accepted this assessment of his worth, broke something in me. "How long have you been with your uncle?" 3 months, I think. Tyler shifted nervously. "Please, mister, just buy a candy bar. He gets mad if I don't sell enough." I nodded and pulled out my wallet, handing him a $5 bill. "Keep the change." As he gave me a Snickers bar, I noticed the bruises around his wrist, partially hidden by his sleeve. Before I could say anything else, the car horn blared. Tyler jumped. "I gotta go," he said, panic creeping into his voice. "Wait," I started to say, but he was already backing away. "Tyler, I can help you." "No one can help," he whispered, then turned to hurry toward the car. I pulled out my phone, quickly snapping a picture of the license plate as the car began to pull away. My hands were shaking, not from the cold anymore, but from anger and determination. In my 14 years as a social worker, I'd learned that the system was flawed, that children fell through the cracks, but not this time, not Tyler. I called my supervisor, Diana, as I pushed through the bakery door. "I need to report a case, possible trafficking or exploitation. Kid can't be more than 8, selling candy barefoot outside Murphy's on Main." "Mark, you're supposed to be on vacation," Diana sighed. "Just saw a car pick him up. Got the plate, B37 LKW9, Illinois plates." I ignored her comment. "Did you identify yourself as a mandated reporter?" "No time, but I'm heading to the office now. I want to run that plate." "Mark, you know procedure. File the report, let the police—" "This kid doesn't have time for procedure." I cut her off. "His uncle has him selling candy in freezing weather without shoes. Said his mother gave him away because he cost too much." "I've got a bad feeling about this one, Di." The line went quiet for a moment. Diana and I had worked together long enough for her to know I didn't overreact. "Come in. I'll call Sergeant Martinez. He owes me a favor." I thanked her and headed for the door, the uneaten candy bar still clutched in my hand. That's when I noticed the piece of paper Tyler had slipped inside the wrapper. With trembling fingers, I unfolded it. In childish, uneven handwriting were 7 words that turned my blood cold. "But Willow Street, please help. Others here." Sergeant Luis Martinez met me at the office 30 minutes later. Diana had already run the plates. They belonged to a man named Ray Hoffman, 42, with priors for drug possession and assault. Pete Willow Street matches. His last known address, Martinez confirmed, looking grim. "It's in that rundown area near the old factory." "What's the plan?" I asked, pacing Diana's office. "We're getting a warrant now. Should have it within the hour. But Mark," he put a hand on my shoulder, stopping my pacing. "You can't come with us. This isn't your jurisdiction." That boy asked me for help. "And you're helping by giving us this information. But if we find what you think we'll find, this could be part of something bigger. We can't risk compromising the investigation because a social worker played hero." I knew he was right, but it didn't make it any easier to accept. "Just promise me you'll call the second you know something." Martinez nodded. "You'll be the first civilian I call." The wait was excruciating. I tried to focus on paperwork, but kept seeing Tyler's bare feet on the frozen concrete, his rehearsed sales pitch, the way his eyes darted to the car. 3 hours later, my phone rang. "We got him," Martinez said without preamble. "And you were right. There were others, 4 kids total, none older than 10, all reported missing from different counties. He was running some kind of labor operation, sending them out to sell candy and keeping the money." Relief flooded through me, followed quickly by dread. "And Tyler? He's here, being checked out by a medic, but physically he seems okay. Dehydrated, malnourished, some bruising, but nothing life-threatening. Where will they go?" I knew the foster system was overloaded, especially right before the holidays. There was a slight pause. "That's actually why I'm calling. The boy, Tyler, he's asking for you. Won't talk to anyone else. Says you promised to help him." I hadn't, not in so many words, but somehow Tyler had seen something in me that gave him hope. I couldn't let him down now. "Tell him I'm on my way." The Child Advocacy Center was quiet when I arrived, the walls painted in soothing blues and greens that were supposed to feel calming, but always struck me as a thin veneer over the trauma that passed through these rooms. Tyler sat in an interview room, a social worker I didn't recognize trying to coax information from him. He had shoes now, probably from the emergency supplies they kept on hand, and was wrapped in a blanket, but his eyes were vacant, staring. At the table, "He hasn't said a word since asking for you," Martinez informed me in the hallway. "We've identified 2 of the other children, but he's not in any database we can find. No missing persons report, nothing." The implication hung in the air between us. No one had been looking for Tyler. What about the man, Hoffman? Lawyered up immediately. But we found enough evidence in the house to put him away for a long time. Phone records, transaction logs. He was selling these kids labor, collecting hundreds of dollars a day while they lived on ramen noodles and slept on mattresses on the floor. I nodded, my jaw tight. "And the mother?" "Working on it, based on the note the kids slipped you. I'm guessing she didn't exactly give him away out of the goodness of her heart." When I entered the interview room, Tyler's head snapped up. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Recognition, maybe even trust. "You came," he said, his voice small but steady. "I promised I would help, didn't I?" I pulled up a chair beside him rather than across the table. "You were very brave, Tyler. Slipping me that note was smart." He glanced nervously at the social worker, who took the hint and excused herself, promising to be just outside if needed. Once we were alone, Tyler's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Is Ray going to jail?" "Yes," I assured him. "For a very long time. He can't hurt you or the other kids anymore." He nodded, processing this information. "Good. He was mean. Made us call him Uncle so people wouldn't be suspicious." His fingers worried the edge of the blanket. "We had to bring back $50 each day, or we couldn't eat." My heart ached. "Tyler, I need to ask you some hard questions. Is that okay?" A small nod. "Your mum. You told me she gave you to him because you cost too much. Can you tell me more about that?" His face clouded. "Mum got sick. Not like cold sick, the other kind, where you need medicine all the time." "Was she using drugs?" Tyler nodded. "She met Ray at her friend's house. They'd all take the medicine together. Then one day, she couldn't pay him. He said..." His voice faltered. "He said I could work off her debt." The pieces fell into place. Tyler's mother had traded him to settle a drug debt. The anger I felt must have shown on my face because Tyler suddenly looked scared. "Hey, it's okay," I reassured him quickly. I'm not mad at you, never at you. Are you going to find my mum? He asked, and the hope in his voice nearly undid me. We're looking for her, I said carefully. Do you want to see her? Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes, he finally admitted. But only if she's better. She was different when she took the medicine, said mean things, forgot to make food. He looked up at me, his eyes suddenly intense. She didn't used to be like that. She was nice before. She made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. People can change when they're sick like that. It's not your fault, Tyler. None of this is your fault. Where will I go now? The vulnerability in his question hit me like a physical blow. For tonight, somewhere safe, I promised. And we'll figure out the rest tomorrow. What I didn't tell him was how hard that figuring out would be. Emergency. Foster placements were scarce, especially for children with complex trauma. Tyler would need stability, therapy, patience, things the overloaded system struggled to provide. As if reading my thoughts, Tyler's hand reached out and grasped mine. Can I stay with you? Just for now? It was against protocol. I knew all the reasons why it was a bad idea: professional boundaries, conflict of interest, my lack of foster certification. But looking into those eyes that had seen too much, I also knew I couldn't send him to a group home or a stranger's house tonight. Let me make some calls, I said. 3 days later, with emergency temporary guardianship paperwork filed and my apartment hastily child-proofed, Tyler was sleeping in my spare room. Diana had pulled strings, arguing that the unique circumstances and my background in child welfare made this the least traumatic option while they located family members or arranged a permanent placement. What none of us expected was the phone. Call that came at 2 a.m. We found her, Martinez said, his voice grim. Tyler's mother, Melissa Parker. I moved to the kitchen so my voice wouldn't wake Tyler. Where? County General. Overdose. They don't think she'll make it through the night. My mind raced. Does she have any family that could take Tyler? That's the thing, Martinez said. We found letters in her apartment. She has a sister in Colorado, Emily Parker. Seems they had a falling out when the drug use started, but they were close once. Emily's been trying to find them for months. Had filed missing persons reports in 3 counties, but Melissa kept moving. Tyler never mentioned an aunt. Might not remember her. Emily says they haven't seen each other since Tyler was around 5. I glanced toward the spare room where Tyler slept. Have you contacted her? She's flying in tomorrow morning. Wants to see her sister before... He didn't finish the sentence. And she wants to meet Tyler, of course. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table, a complex mix of emotions washing over me. If Emily checked out, if she was stable, loving, willing to help Tyler heal, it would be the best outcome we could hope for. Family reunification was always the goal when possible. So why did the prospect fill me with such complicated feelings? The next morning, I told Tyler as gently as I could that his mother was in the hospital. I didn't mention the overdose or her condition, just that she was very sick and that we had found his Aunt Emily, who was coming to see him. Aunt Emmy? Tyler's eyes widened in recognition. With the dogs? I don't know about any dogs, I admitted, relieved that he remembered her. She had 3 big dogs. One licked my face all the time. A small smile appeared, the first I'd seen from him. Would you like to see her? Tyler nodded slowly. Is she mad at me? Why would she be mad at you? For not finding her when Mum started getting sick. She always said if Mum got sick again, I should call Aunt Emmy. My heart broke a little more. This child had been carrying the weight of adult responsibilities, thinking he'd somehow failed. Tyler, listen to me, I said, kneeling to his level. Your aunt is not mad at you. She's been looking for you. And none of this, absolutely none of it, is your fault. You're a child. It was the adult's job to take care of you, not the other way around. He seemed to consider this, not entirely convinced, but wanting to believe. Can you come with me to see her? Of course, I promised. I'll be right there. Emily Parker was nothing like I expected, based on the circumstances. Her sister's addiction, Tyler's situation. I had braced myself for more family dysfunction. Instead, I met a composed woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a steady presence. She was a veterinarian in Denver, explaining the dogs Tyler remembered. Divorced, no children of her own. I tried for years to get Melissa help, she explained as we sat in the hospital cafeteria. Tyler was with a child life specialist, being prepared to see his mother. After our parents died, the grief hit her hard. She started with prescription, pills, then moved to harder stuff. I thought when Tyler was born, it would change things. And it did, for a while. What happened? I asked. Emily's eyes clouded. She was clean for almost 5 years. Then she got injured at work, waitressing. Doctor prescribed opioids and she trailed off. I tried to intervene, offered to take Tyler while she got treatment. She took it as me trying to steal her son, cut off contact completely. She looked down at her coffee. I should have tried harder. You filed missing persons reports, I reminded her. You were looking. Not hard enough? She countered, then took a deep breath. How bad is it, her condition? They wouldn't tell me much over the phone. I hesitated. It's not good. The doctors don't expect her to regain consciousness. Emily nodded slowly, as if she'd been preparing herself for this news. And Tyler, how much does he know? Just that his mother is sick. He knows you're here, though. Remembered you, and your dogs. A small smile broke through her grief. Bentley, Sadie, and Max. He used to ride Bentley like a horse. Her expression grew serious again. I want to take him home with me, Mr. Delaney. I know it's complicated with interstate custody, but he's my nephew. I can give him stability, therapy, a good school. He remembers me, at least a little. It was what I had been hoping to hear, yet there was still that unexpected twinge of loss. In less than a week, Tyler had carved out a space in my life, in my heart. There will be home studies, paperwork, I explained. But given the circumstances, and with your sister's condition, I think we can make it happen. Will you help us? Emily asked. Tyler trusts you. That means everything right now. Before I could respond, a nurse approached our table. Ms. Parker, your sister is showing signs of consciousness. The doctor thinks you should come now. What happened next defied medical explanation. Melissa Parker, who had been given hours to live, opened her eyes when her sister entered the room. Tyler, who had been hesitant but determined to see his mother, froze in the doorway. Mom, he whispered. Melissa's gaze, unfocused and confused, drifted toward his voice. Recognition dawned slowly on her gaunt face. Tyler, she managed, her voice barely audible. My baby. Emily guided Tyler to the bedside, her hand protectively on his shoulder. I stood back, feeling like an intruder on this family moment, yet unable to leave Tyler. I'm sorry, Melissa whispered, tears rolling down her hollow cheeks. So sorry. Tyler looked up at his aunt, uncertain. It's okay, Emily encouraged gently. You can talk to her. Tyler stepped closer to the bed. Are you better now? He asked, his voice small but steady. Melissa's lips trembled. No, baby, I'm not better, but Emily will take care of you now. Her eyes moved to her sister. You will, won't you? Promise me. I promise, Emily said firmly, tears streaming down her face. I'll love him like my own. Melissa seemed to relax then, some terrible tension, leaving her body. She looked at Tyler once more. You didn't cost too much, she whispered. You were the only thing worth anything. I was just too sick to see it. Tyler reached out tentatively, placing his small hand over his mother's. No words, Just that simple connection. Melissa died 3 hours later, with Emily at her bedside. Tyler had fallen asleep in a chair in the corner of the room, emotionally exhausted. I carried him out while the nurses disconnected the machines, his small body surprisingly light in my arms. The paperwork to grant Emily temporary guardianship took 2 weeks. In that time, Tyler stayed with me, while Emily rented a long-term Airbnb nearby to visit daily. She was everything I could have hoped for: patient, understanding, committed to helping Tyler heal. On their last day in town, before they would drive to Colorado together, Emily and Tyler came to my apartment to say goodbye. Tyler carried a small backpack with the few belongings he'd accumulated during his time with me: clothes, a stuffed dog Emily had bought him, and a framed photo of all 3 of us at the park. "I made you something," Tyler said, handing me a crudely folded paper. Inside was a crayon drawing of 2 figures, one tall, one small, holding hands. "It's us, when you found me at the bakery." I swallowed hard, accepting the drawing. "I'll keep it forever." "You'll visit, right?" he asked anxiously. "Aunt Emmy said you could come for Christmas if you want." I looked at Emily, who nodded with a warm smile. "I'd like that very much," I told him. Tyler surprised me then, flinging his arms around my waist in a fierce hug. "Thank you for buying my candy bar," he whispered. As I watched their car pull away, Emily's hand waving from the driver's window and Tyler's face pressed against the back glass, I thought about costs and worth. About a mother who, in her addiction, couldn't see the value of what she had. About a boy who had been treated as a commodity with a price tag attached to his existence. And I thought about the true cost of childhood, the safety, love, and protection every child deserves, but not every child receives. 2 months later, I received a package from Colorado. Inside was a photo of Tyler, grinning widely on a sled with a large dog, Bentley, I presumed, alongside him. He wore a new winter coat, thick gloves, and sturdy boots. On the back of the photo, in Emily's handwriting, were 3 words that made my eyes well up: "Worth every penny."